Thoughts on us being linked with Leroy Sane? Is that the right level of experience this squad might need this going into next season? Because I feel that's what we might be lacking, is a little bit of experience.
Well, he's a winger who would fit the system really well if we do keep Ange. And his future's up in the air at Bayern. His contract's coming to an end. I think there were some meetings today about whether or not his future is fully over at Bayern. 29 years old. A bit older profile than what we've been looking at in recent weeks and years, especially under Ange, under Johan Langer. But I mean, you look at his numbers and 19 goals and assists in all competitions. Not too bad. Mainly, a lot of those came in the Bundesliga. Bayern Munich, won it this year, and I can see why people can maybe be unsure about that signing, because maybe the age profile, he's not the player that he was when he was at, say, Manchester City.
No.
He's a bit of unwanted goods. But, I mean, if you get him on a free, I mean, the thing that does me is his wages. That's what it's going to come down to, isn't it? He will want a fat chunk, and we don't pay up for wages, even though after winning this trophy and the money that we've got from being in the Champions League and the money we can spend. I think Levy can, with PSR, we can spend 200 million. He'll want a signing on bonus. He'll want, all that sort of stuff, probably goal bonus. Is Levy going to pay it? But the fact he's been offered to us means that, we're circling the right waters, hopefully, when it comes to some transfers. I mean, I'm not fully against it. I guess, the way it looks for our transfer going into this summer is, I think we need a winger as a priority, and a left winger is very important in that. And maybe we don't want to bring in another youngster because we've got Odegaard, we've got Mikey Moore. Son's a little bit older than Sane as well, like 3 or 4 years. So he is the right profile of age as well to sort of educate the youngsters. He's a good finisher on his day. I can't see too much wrong with it, really. Maybe it would be the wages as the stumbling block.
Yeah, you're right with the wages there, and that's the thing we've seen with experience. But when Conte came into Spurs, of course, he brought in Perisic on a free in a kind of similar way. And I really felt that he added a lot of value to the squad. I think his time at Spurs was underrated. I think Leroy Sané, I've watched him this season, he's still rapid. I think he's that kind of player that can get in behind people. And I think some of the flaws this season has been that ability to get in behind people at the last moment, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like the pace you mentioned there, Son is lacking that now. He's the other side of 30, and and then the finishing is where I'd say your Mikey Moores and your Odegaards are lacking certain. And I guess, I mean, it all depends on Tell. I think that's the telling truth, isn't it? To pardon the pun. Are we going to go to Bayern and take him, or are we going to take Sane? I feel like that it'll be one or the other. And
what's your thoughts on Tell? Would you keep him?
Do you know what? A couple of weeks in, I would have said no. But then there was some bright spots, weren't there, during that Europa League run, especially where he turned up in certain moments. He's raw. I think that's what it is. He's raw. I think we forget how young he is. He's come across really well, in the media. He stood up, in front of fans, and when the going got tough. So that side is good. It's just if we can get that fee down a little bit, maybe a 40 million, then he could maybe be the answer to that wing solution, and then maybe get Sane in as well, and then you've got another 2 options there.
Yeah, I think having the bodies next season is going to be crucial, especially with Champions League football. The League Cup competition, the FA Cup as well, and we cannot have a season where we have the Premier League finish like we have on the previous season just gone. So I think hopefully if you could get both of them in, I think, having Tell there as well, obviously you probably know Sane very well from the dressing room, you'd think it'd be a good way to get him in. I'd like to see him come in, and like you said with Tell, I think he's shown great humility amongst the squad. I think he stood up in the right moment. I remember being at Anfield when we got battered 4-0 in the Carabao Cup, the second leg, and he was the one guy coming to the crowd, rearing us up. He's a young man. You forget he's got a mature head on his head, and we need leaders in that dressing room.
Yeah, and, playing at a club like Bayern Munich, the expectation there is weekly, even more than us. The expectations are like the same at Real Madrid. They're expected to win the title. They're expected to go far in the Cups and the Champions League as well. And Sané's done it at the top level. He's done it at Manchester City, where he was part of a fantastic front three with Gabriel Jesus and Raheem Sterling. So he knows what it is to win. And he's still got that in him. What annoys me is people will straight away go to age. 29 is still young in football. He's still, he's not in the twilight zone yet. I think I saw some Arsenal fans saying, oh, it's like Willian or Sterling when they came to Arsenal. But I feel like our environment would be a bit better than that Arsenal team that those players went into.
God, if 29's old, I must be ancient. Moving on to someone who's only 10 years younger, but they're at the fresher part of their career, of course. Tyler Diblin from Southampton. Thoughts on that rumour? Because that's the kind of signing that makes sense to Spurs when you look over the years of the kind of players that we have brought in.
Yeah, I mean, back in January, I liked the idea of this, but we sort of didn't know where we were going in, our season, and the Europa League wins seemed like a mile away. My one worry, I'd say there's two worries of this. Do we need another player like this? Does it then stop the likes of, I mentioned them already, Odegaard, Mikey Moore, playing in similar positions, who have come through one's come through our academy. Odegaard, we paid a nice fee for, and he showed really good promise this season. Does it stop their growth? That's what worries me. And then I guess with Tyler Diblin as well, the price that Southampton want. I mean, I've seen 50, I've seen
55 million, because I've seen Everton are in for him as well. And I think apparently they've been told the price is 55 million. It's a lot of money.
I guess what Spurs are, what they like, and hence why they've gone down this route is, you looked at when West Ham signed Jared Bowen from the Championship, these sort of Championship gems. I know he played in the Premier League, but, he's probably a Championship level player because we saw what Southampton produced this season. They think like if he comes to a club like Tottenham, he can then go to that next level and be really like class under a better manager and a better system. But I just feel like there are too many question marks. 55 million for a player like that at this stage of his career, I think it's balmy.
But the only time you do that is when it's 5 million for Dele Alli.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like the days of that. Like the thing is, you pay 15 or 20, you're thinking, oh, like, that's not too bad. Like that, you'd be happy to maybe fork that over. But I just wonder, like, the idea of us signing a winger, which I would say is a priority signing, we need to bring it in a first-team quality player. And, when we look back at last summer, the only player of first-team quality was Dominic Solanke. The rest of them were, youngsters who have shown a lot and they have proved themselves, but we need that base. We need that sort of, we need these leaders.
If you're going anywhere over 50 million for an unproven 19-year-old, you might as well stump up the cash and just go and get Eze and be done with it.
Exactly. We've seen how he's been in the latter part of the season. It's just
stepped up, isn't he?
Well, yeah, we just want a player who can come in and just sort of start straight as they mean to go on, banging in the goals, banging in the assists. And then, I feel like what we want, especially now we're in the Champions League and how competitive that's going to be, you need a squad that is so rich that they can play all these competitions. We don't need numbers, really. We just need, high quality. And then the players like Odegaard, like Archie Gray, like Bergwall, all the youngsters can then learn off these mature players and then you can look at the squad and go, we're not going to build a squad like Manchester City. We know that, with two world-class players in every position. But that they can become world class if they're learning off people with that experience.
Absolutely. Now, just to look at some possible outgoings at the club, this rumour with Cuti Romero going to Atletico Madrid won't let up. He wasn't present on the last day of the season either, which worried me a little bit. I've asked questions why, and people don't seem to know. I don't know if you know, son.
I think he was hungover. I mean, he nearly fell off the bus. He had that many beers in him, so I think that's why. Dodgy head.
But he could have at least put some sunglasses on and been there. But yeah, look, that's a big worry for me. But the thing is, I don't know if you saw his social media post, said that's the right path about winning. He's posted his delight on winning. And of course, he is a born winner. What he's done with his country, he's won everything. He's now won at club level with Spurs, something that, probably looked very unlikely for him. Now, with that taste and that celebration, with all his teammates, with the likes of Son, do you think that will give him the sort of the taste to want more with Spurs?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've seen mixed reports of, obviously this news has come out again today that Atletico are keen, but then I've seen that, after the win, he might also be interested to stay. I think what happens with Romero is it's a bit of a tricky situation because he's still got a bit of time left on his contract. We paid, a handsome fee for him between 40 and 50 million. I think Daniel Levy will want a big fee in return. I'm thinking, people will laugh 80 million.
I agree.
We also have seen on his day that he can. I mean, in that run-in in the Europa League, in that final, the way he was rattling Harry Maguire, giddy, I was loving that. It was a proper old school battle. And also, what's good is when Atletico Madrid came in, you're thinking that's a match made in heaven. If he isn't a Diego Simeone player, I don't know who
Oh,
is. So,
yeah.
and they will stump up that cash. But Atletico Madrid do stump up cash when they need to for João Felix or Julian Alvarez. They will pay. So we've sort of got the balls in our court on this deal. And then what Tottenham should do if they do sell him, because I'm sort of, if he wants to leave, then he can go. He's got that trophy. He delivered on the day. Fair play to
Yeah.
him. Then just take that money straight away and go and sign Mark Gahey before Newcastle do. And that's how that's how you then go on to that next level. You sign a player of who's a little bit younger and of English quality who can really team up well with Mickey van der Ven, I think.
I agree with that. And the thing is, if you just look at the numbers, when Virgil van Dijk got signed to Liverpool from Southampton for that big fee at the time, Coutie's only a year or so older than what Virgil van Dijk was at the time, and we've seen how important he's been to that team. If Romero goes to Atletico Madrid, he's the type of player that could actually go and win them La Liga. Like he is that important of a player and as a personality in a dressing room, especially being under the guidance of Simeone. As you said, he's perfect for Simeone. What would you rather do? Would you rather cash in on him now or keep him?
I mean, it's so annoying because I mean, this has been a flip-flop season for me. All my opinions, I feel like I'm backtracking left,
Same.
right, and centre.
Same.
But like after his performance he put in, I thought if you can do that every week, like I want you to stay forever. But if his heart is set on going, then
That,
then no one's bigger than this club at the end of the day. We saw that in Harry Kane, Luka Modric, Gareth Bale. If you're keen to go and you want to go and progress your career somewhere else, then fair play to you.